My parents were Fortunato and Concetta Maria Rochella, and their last names in Italian were Battaglia, as so many names got corrupted. When my dad got off the boat, he became Tom. My dad came over first with his brother, Antonio, who was killed in the Pocahontas mine explosions. And he saw a picture of my mother in an Italian boarding house. He started writing to my mom, and he made her the offer if she would come over and meet him. If they liked each other, they would marry, and if not, he'd pay her way back. And knowing them in later life, I was always a little surprised he didn't pay her way back. They're from Calabria. My dad came here first in 1911, and then my mother came over in 1916, and they were married the following year, and they never got to go back. My dad saved enough money to build a grocery store for my brothers, so at one point the Battlo supermarket was one of the major stores here in town and in the county. They had a meat shop, and my oldest brother became a butcher. Of course, they had wonderful produce, and then, of course, when they made enough money, they built this big brick place. We had a few Italian products, but up at Keystone, which is just the next town up, they had a little store, a man named Biagio, and he carried Italian products. All got them right from Italy. So Christmas and the real hardcore Italian celebrations, we would go to Biagio. I think most of our meals were basically some version of an Italian dish. If not exactly Italy, certainly of the Mediterranean. Even if it had American spin on it, most of the things that had tomato sauce on it. But when it comes to spaghetti, it's spaghetti, except the one thing that they did with it, she made it with a eggplant sauce, which of course you can get now everywhere, but that was my favorite spaghetti. My mom says she learned pizza here, that they never did that. The closest they came to it, I guess that was a pizza. They would, when they were making bread, they would make a flat one, and then of course they threw tomato sauce on everything. Breakfast in our family was generally a sweet roll. It was a continental breakfast. It was very much, or my mother made bread every week, and most of them would slop the bread in the coffee. We had coffee from a very young age. It was never refused. It was mostly milk, but for whatever reason, they didn't have any resistance to kids having coffee. So we always had the coffee to drink, not big milk drinkers. And some people, as we got older, worried about our calcium, but the cheese we put away, cheese was a constant. They would order the big wheels. And golly, I don't know how old I was before I had regular rolled sausage, and then it didn't taste like sausage either. A lot of times some of the old couples, well, they weren't that old then, they would buy a pig together and slaughter it and divide it up and then make it at home. They had the meat grinder and the skins. You can't have a holiday without spaghetti. Doesn't matter whatever you have, turkey and a ham and mashed potatoes and green beans and the whole kit and caboodle, you still have to have the spaghetti. It's not holiday to them. When I was growing up, we would never dream of going to a restaurant, you know. And people that came to our house didn't want to go to restaurants either. My mom and all of my family, including one of my brothers, were made cooks. So a restaurant couldn't be that kind of treat, because all kinds of people wanted to be invited to mom's dinners, you know. Well, you know, Mom, you can find the reason for that easily enough is that they did everything from scratch. Well, in their garden, always, there was basilico, which is basil. Oh, they would put that out as early as they could do it, and they had that fresh, anything she cooked, her meatballs, petrosino, which is parsley. and that would be there year-round. You could go out and get that. And anything she cooked, she used those two things centrally in her cooking. Now, another thing they did, and we still do that, is they took broccoli, and I believe that they fried it, and I believe they fried it in vinegar and oil. And then the cauliflower, they made a egg yolk batter out of that and dipped that and cooked the cauliflower. Now, I loved that. That was real. And that, for some reason, was whether, a lot of these things aren't really, you couldn't say they were Italian tradition. It may be that somebody in the family years ago liked their broccoli with vinegar fried. And but anyway, that's always been our... my dad, like most Italian men, had a love affair with tomatoes. That's always been the heart of the garden. And he had them all over the place. Tomatoes have to be there, and they have to have this special care. They really loved, I thought, no wonder they were really healthy in those areas. They loved vegetables and fruits. They would pick that over anything, my mom and dad. My dad always got his grapes from Battlo, and then hollered at him all year long if the wine wasn't good enough, because he got the wrong grapes, or it didn't rain enough in California. And my dad never ate a meal, I don't think, without wine. But I never saw him drunk. But of course that accounted for his health. He lived to 82. If he didn't have black lung, I think he'd be here now. And my mother could not even smell it without getting high. In fact, we knew an Italian family lived down Welch, and the woman was a widow and had 6 kids, I think. She made her living off the wine that she sold, and the police would leave her alone, hand them a bottle once in a while, because they knew she was supporting her family. If my dad had a friend come in, of course he would always offer his own and sit back and wait for them to tell him it was wonderful. And if it wasn't, he'd talk about the California rains.